Okay. All right. It's about 8:40, and looks like we had some technical problems. I had a little trouble trying to get WebEx to operate, so I decided to hook it up on my phone until then. That's why you got that double voice. So anyway, this is it. This is the final lecture tonight for this class. As you should know, um, that the final assignments will be due this Sunday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I am going to tonight cover the material uh, for that particular week. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Let me share my screen. Okay, let's go down. As you can see, lectures take place every week. Week 6 is it. These are lectures 1 through 5. And so let's see what the week 6 announcement says. Share that with you. All right. First of all, the week 6 assignment deals with media and criminal justice and media technology and the courts, open justice for open season developments in judicial engagement with new media, and the activity reality TV and the criminal justice system. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then the discussion assignment, constitutional rights. Of course, your initial posts are due tonight, tonight, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then your reply posts are due on Saturday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Finally, your written assignment, justice, we're going to talk about that in a minute, is due this Sunday, February the 16th. And then the quarter officially ends, as I said, on Sunday. If you could complete the end of quarter evaluations, I would appreciate it. And you know what my motto, adversity is the springboard to success. Of course, though, some of you know or recall that I had some adversity this past week. I was in the hospital for a few days and at home after that battling type A influenza. And so I'm kind of gradually getting back to normal. So I've gotten your grades completed for each of your weeks 1 through 5 and 1 through 4, and then so week 5. I also, if you recall, I gave you until Friday, no, till Thursday night, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time, to complete the assignment. Here it is, right here. Week 5 project. So you have until you have a couple more days left to get that done by 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I'm not even going to even penalize people until after the 13th for that. And the reason is because week 4 I didn't get them completed until Sunday. And then you were completing week 5 that day. So if you have submitted it, you can go back, take a look at it, make sure that it's done. So if you do a second submission, it will not be late, even though it'll say late. Don't worry about that. The system will pick it up as late, but I will not be grading it late until after midnight of the 13th, heading into the 14th. Okay. So now let's take a look at the course calendar. Boy, I got a couple of students that are not well right now with influenza, so it's a big thing that's going around. It's hitting a lot of people. And then when you get my age, it takes a whole lot out of you. So, and no, I did not take the flu shot. I never take the flu shot, and I won't take it again either. So I'll just have to hang in there. Let me take out this J355 in there, which is a course that starts tomorrow. All right, so here we are. So your reading assignment was due on yesterday. You still need to start what I just talked about a few minutes ago. And then, yeah, the flu shot is a monster. My daughter took the flu shot. She works for Cook County Jail as a clinical psychologist, and within a couple of days she got the flu, but it was required for her to take it. So yeah, it's a strain now that's pretty tough out there. So, but you guys take care of yourself. Use a lot of hand sanitizer. Oh wow, I'm looking at that. Let me go back and look at that. Yeah, it says you said Michelle says her boss got the flu shot and was out sick for a week. Well, I didn't get the flu shot and I was out sick for a week as well. And then wow, 101 from home. Been home from work all week. Woke up to be here. Well, hang in there so long as you can. I appreciate it. Just uh, you know, as I was telling people, take that pill. They got Tamiflu. I took that, and then my wife caught it. So I was in the hospital for a few days. I got out, got home. She was taking care of me, and she ended up getting it. So thank you. You too. Yes, make sure you guys take care of yourselves. It's very, 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 very important. And make sure that um, um, you run into some problems. Let me know. Um, in the week, I already got one student who reached out to me to let me know about their illness, and I won't talk about who it is because they know who I'm talking about when they hear and see this lecture. But you gotta, like I said, a lot of sleep, electrolytes. It was liquids, getting it out of you. So, but it's a challenge. So consider it like one person I knew had pneumonia. You be glad you don't have that. So, well, anyway, so your initial post is due tonight, okay, and then your reply post. Let me take that out of there. Your reply post is due Saturday, and then of course Sunday class actually ends on that date. So let's take a look at and see what we're talking about here. Looking at week 6. Okay. And actually week 6, there is this written assignment, which is actually that, and then your discussion post. That's pretty much it. So making sure you get that week 5 stuff in so that I can grade it is very, very, very important. I'll be grading that over the next day or two. I got another class that ends tonight. That the lecture last week was the final lecture. So anyway, you're going to read the article, Justice Delayed, and after you read the article, you're going to write a 1 to 2 page paper addressing the following. Make sure you hit each of these bullet points. Very, very important. Make sure your papers are double spaced. Make sure you run your papers through Grammarly. Make sure that you use sources that are credible. Make sure that you are actually doing the research for your papers. It is important that each of you understand that I when I run the papers through Grammarly, I'm able to discover where your sources are, and if it turns out that your sources are from places that are not authorized by the school, you will get hit with a academic integrity issue, and you guys are heading toward a bachelor's program, so you should be well aware of what I'm talking about. So make sure you do your papers. Most of you do a good job in getting things done. So you're going to cover each of these bullet points. APA format, you know what that means. You know what that means by now. Cover sheet, you know it means also a reference page, properly formatted. You also know that it means, of course, citations in the body throughout the paper. Don't throw a gratuitous reference in there, because if you throw a gratuitous reference into the paper, it's not going to help you any. But make sure that you satisfy the APA requirements. So let's take a look at what the rubric says. For a possible 100 points, let's see what you have to do here. And provide a brief synopsis of the case study, of the article. Include the issues and results. You'll get 35 points for that. 25 points for explaining how the media coverage affects the outcome of the case. You've had a lot of experience with that over the past 5 weeks. And discuss where the public's right to know supersede the victim's privacy or the defendant's privacy. And then finally, describe whether you feel the outcome of the case would have been different if there was no media coverage, and then if so, why. And then you're going to satisfy those requirements. 1 page means 1 page, not 3/4 of a page. And it's okay to go beyond 1, 2. I've seen some go even longer to give me information. And then APA requirement. People lose points all the time for not doing that, okay? I mean, since day one, I've been talking about that, and many of you have had me in your associates program, and you know how I am about APA and how important it is. And I explained to you why, based upon the academic integrity video that we covered at the beginning of the course. Those of you who might not know what I'm talking about, that's it right here, concerning why citations and references are so important. You remember I covered that during week 1. So that's just to refresh your memory. Let's go back. And then your discussion posts. Your initial post, of course, are due tonight. And then your reply posts, how the increase in news media by the internet and other technological devices have helped or hindered the protection of constitutional rights. Give an example of your findings and present, and then summarize your findings. And again, remember, detailed information in the discussion post. And then finally, your live classroom lecture point, which you'll get for the key phrase that we'll give to you at the end of this. So now let's dive right into the topic. Okay. Okay. Let's go back into that. It's not coming out. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to discuss, again, dealing with technology and the role in the criminal justice system, and then we're going to compare criminal justice and public policy and how they've impacted with the relationship with the media. And again, the reading I gave you already, and then so we're going to talk about this reality TV and the criminal justice system, and then I've already talked about these items here. So let's look at this reality TV and the criminal justice system. What in the world is going on here? As many of you should be aware, and you may not be aware, I am, because of when I started my practice as a lawyer, which will be 43 years ago in June of this year, when I graduated from Northwestern University School of Law and began practicing criminal law. And when I began practicing criminal law, one of the things that quickly occurred was there was no internet. A lot of these technological systems that we'll be discussing briefly did not exist. And then, so the media had a different approach. So imagine this, with the advent and increase of social media dealing with the criminal justice system, and then more of these reality type TV shows where you have these investigations that take place. You have mock investigations that are sensational. And my wife was watching something on TV last night about someone being murdered or suspected of murder. And so anyway, the fact of the matter is that media, with the onset of the internet and Facebook, there was no such thing as Facebook or any of these other social media vehicles. And so now what has happened is that people get the news really fast whenever something occurs. It's just like, for example, this is not a criminal case, but this is just how quickly the internet and social media catches information. We were in church Sunday morning, a week ago Sunday, and it became, was it a week ago Sunday? I think it was a week ago Sunday. But at any rate, we found out at 2 o'clock that afternoon as we started our services about what happened with Kobe Bryant. And it was all over social media. Bam, bam, bam. I mean, it hit so fast. And you find out about things that happen now because also with the fact that you have these social media outlets, almost every news media organization takes advantage and utilizes these social media entities like even Facebook to promote their information. And so the news gets out really, really, really fast. And sometimes it reaches the stage where all of the facts are not in about what's going on because, as you should know, and talking to my media friends, because I've had many years of experience in the media, especially dealing with news stories, it is always, as they say, the one who posts it first who grabs the audience. And so they're oftentimes getting information out there so very, very fast before many of the facts are even available. And so the key thing, as it says here, it says social media allows the public to join in the news dissemination process as they can post their own updates and statuses in real time about a newsworthy event. And so it just happens. Look at what the study done by LexisNexis says. 67% believe social media help solve crimes more quickly. I don't know about that, and I don't know where that statistic comes from. But one of the things that, as far as solving crime quickly, maybe for example, if there's an Amber Alert, or if there's some kind of suspect out there who's committing um, uh, crimes within a certain community, then it provides an opportunity for that information to get out quickly. It says here, 87% of the time, search warrants using social media to establish probable cause hold up in court. That is a phenomenal that is so amazing to me, that while I was practicing, I retired in 2000. Even at the time I retired from active practicing, and I continued studying it as well as teaching this type of thing, that what is in the social media can result in someone being charged with a crime. For example, I noticed that in law enforcement, when this was after I had left police work. I was in police work for 4 years as a police officer, 89 to 93. And so I was practicing law at that time, but we didn't utilize social media because the fact that it wasn't as strong in terms of providing probable cause. But what has happened in recent times, I go to seminars every year with the Illinois Association Chief of Police, and they always show how Facebook, for example, to use one, there are individuals who are gun runners, drug dealers, and people who commit crimes put their information out there in social media, and guess who's watching? Not only is the media watching it, not only is the public watching it, but more importantly, law enforcement has their own systems and are able to utilize a very powerful tool from the social media. Do you know one of the tools that helps law enforcement as far as social media, one of the things that people do all the time when it comes to social media? Do you know something that they don't cover up? Any ideas? See if you have any idea about it. You can post it in the chat box. And then it amazes me how often this gets people arrested. Any idea? No ideas? No points? No guesses? Well, yeah, posting pictures. That's one thing. Um Messages, yes, but there's something else that they can utilize to pinpoint where you are. I think I just told you already now. Yeah, GPS is tracking phone data, but there's something that people do that is really, really basic that they do. Well, cell towers they utilize, but you know what? They leave their location open. Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh yeah, yeah. They checks that it tells you exactly where they are. I'll give you an example. I was in a seminar, and the local police here in I'm in Illinois, okay, and I'm in the area of what we call Aurora, Illinois. In fact, Rasmussen has a campus in Aurora, Illinois, and what happens is that this lady was selling drugs out of her car, and they were able to see her, find where she was selling the drugs, but they used her location to find her. Where do you guess that she was selling the drugs in the city of Aurora? Where do you think she was selling the drugs? Anybody guess? But it was location. No, not work, not home, not in a school district, not at Walmart. Any guesses? Okay, I'll just tell you. In the parking lot of the police department. Yeah, yeah. And they went down and they traced her downstairs in the parking lot. And so they went down and they asked her, asked her to get out of the car. And she got out of the car. They said, she said she refused to allow a search. So under constitutional law, she could not. The search would be illegal. Okay, so what they did was they took what they had on video and sent it electronically to the court, which was only a few miles away, and got a warrant, electronic warrant issued shortly after that. And they impounded it in the meantime, but they couldn't check it. Man, they opened the trunk of that car and they found a cache of drugs. But can you imagine? And so it was social media that they utilized with the attention. But the thing that really got her nailed, literally, was her own uh, stupidity. So criminals are not the smartest people in the world, okay? Because as I explained to people, as I represented people many times, I says, what year did this happen? This was 2000 and it was 2018. 2018 it happened. For those of you who are here in the area, yeah, it was 2018. Yeah, it was real recent. And so we actually sat in the session, guys, and we actually had a chance to see what the police saw because they had a device that they saved it for us to see, and it was like I said again, um, the definition of a criminal is a person who's caught committing a crime. You are not a criminal if you're not caught, and that's how you become a criminal. And so they did all kinds of things. So anyway, I'm go back to the point that how there are means using GPSs, but your own location, even if you try to cover it up, it can still get you. Did you also know that information that's stored in your phone, yeah, it's in the World Wide Web, and they can get warrants and check those out. And then there are battles between your phone carriers. If some of you remember the Jesse Smollett's case here in Chicago, there was an issue with the carrier. I forgot who it was. I think it was Sprint. That they the police wanted to get some information from the phone, so they had to go to court to get it. But anyway, it says close to 50% of respondents use social media at least weekly. Only 10% of respondents learn how to use social media for investigations through formal training given at the agency. But that was what I was telling you about. More and more, that's increasing on the federal, on the state, on the county, and even on the municipal level, where you have major cities like Chicago, you got Cook County, and I was telling you about what happened in Aurora. There are companies that offer systems that police departments are purchasing to utilize to be able to track down the location of criminals. So it's amazing. It says lack of access and familiarity are primary reasons for non-use. 70% are either unable to access social media during work hours or do not have enough background to use. Of course, that's almost changing now as we speak because of the better systems. There are more and more, as some of you already pointed out, towers, which is what's utilized to provide this information to make it available to you. So it is quite clear then that in the criminal justice system that the law enforcement people have access to a lot of information, and it helps with investigations as well and solving many crimes, such as you deal with DNA. One of my all-time favorite things that came into the criminal justice system in terms of investigation came near the end of my career, and that was DNA. And DNA has exonerated people, but it has also been a valuable tool in being able to be utilized in technology. So anyway, the question here is, does this issue that we're talking about, all this media information, does this create a problem with the jury system? And so the question that many people should be aware of is that we're in this time. It's not going anywhere, and so a good sharp attorney can utilize with experts. Now, see, here's the problem. You have to have money to hire experts to be able to come in and testify at the media coverage based upon what's happening, especially using social media, will taint, I'm not talking about the defendant with any other way, but taint the jury because they will be able to have access to information. Do you not know that in most courthouses, I don't know about in your jurisdiction, but in most courthouses now, that you cannot bring your cell phone into the building? Have any of you guys ran into that? Have you encountered that? Yeah, well, if you have to go, not in Green Bay. I'm going to refrain from saying anything about Green Bay because I'm a Bear fan. But anyway, we have a campus there, so I always tell them they can't send me there. I got a good friend, though, that plays on the Packers. He's from here, a young man named Lancaster. And he's a graduate of Plainfield East High School here and my alma mater, Northwestern University. But at any rate, the point of the matter is that in most jurisdictions, you cannot bring your phone in. I know in Illinois, it's pretty much like that all over. You can't bring your phones in. And the reason has to do with is because you have the ability to be able to get cameras, and you can broadcast it out to the public. You can also compromise some of the systems and the facilities themselves. So it's a security issue. It's a security issue all the way around. So the question that you might say, well, wait a minute, they're allowing cameras in the courthouses and all that. Pay attention. When you see those cameras, they are strategically in areas where not a trial is taking place. Now, if you see cameras in the courtroom, they have a system already set up that allows people to be able to see what's happening in certain areas, but you can't see the entire courtroom itself. So anyway, the truth of the matter is the media is a tool now that we're trying our best to protect the individual who is being tried. Now, there are people who have the opinion, and I'll say it again, that the most widely publicized criminal case in history of criminal justice, of course, by far is what we talked about already in this class, and that's the O.J. Simpson case. And judging from what many of you guys wrote, you guys were under the impression that media controlled that. If media controlled the O.J. Simpson case, then O.J. would have been found guilty in the criminal case. But because of the fact that what media did in that case, as far as the trier of fact, remember the jurors, they were sequestered and kept away from much of the stuff that you saw that was taking place. Or you guys may not have seen because you guys were too young, but those of you who are old enough to know, or if you talk to your parents or older friends, you'll hear them say that, well, what took place in the actual trial itself had to do with poor police work. And that's why when I teach criminal justice, and it's going back to what happened with my parents in terms of the system letting victims down, because I'm one of those people that was let down. But the point of the matter is that you must, as a criminal justice individual, operate on the basis of what I said in each and every class that I teach during open house, and that is you must operate professionally, and you must be educated, and above all, operate in an ethical fashion. And that way you increase what would happen as far as individuals being tried in courts. And as far as the public and the media information that's out there, when it actually does get to the point where you pick a jury, because of course you all are aware that everybody who was on that jury already knew who O.J. Simpson was. They also knew what he was charged with. So my point being is that it comes back to the point that I don't want my colleagues in criminal justice to say, oh yeah, the media runs it. No, you run it, actually, if you do a good job. And so that's why I teach law enforcement people to do a good job. That's why I teach my defense attorneys, my prosecutors, and people who are in corrections and probation and parole. Do a good job. And then the media won't have as much of an effect. Yeah, on the outside, but when it comes to actually dealing with the issue that we talk about this week in terms of protecting the rights of individuals and also protecting now the privacy of people involved in cases, that's a whole nother issue. As you already know, one of the things that happens with investigations is who is supposed to control the information that is provided to the public from the law enforcement side. Who is supposed to do that? You all should know that. Who is supposed to do that? What do we call that? Yep, that's exactly what we, the PIO. And the PIO is who disseminates, because then there are leaks, though, in agencies, unfortunately, because other people want to get out there and speak, but that's not as broadly. On the other hand, the other issue is that the media can't receive information. The news media can't receive information that's not disseminated by the PIO unless someone unauthorized speaks out. You know, it's just like this as a lawyer. When my clients would be asked questions, and I had two cases that were high-profile cases in the area that I worked on, and the media would question my clients on the way to court if they were on bail. One of them was on bail, and I would accompany them through my staff all the way to the courthouse, and questions would be asked of the individual constantly, and they would be told not to speak. If any of you followed high-profile case like the R. Kelly case, the many that he's had, but you'll notice that when he's going back and forth to court, that he has an entourage around him. And the reason for that is not because anybody would do harm to him. That's one of the reasons. But the major reason is to keep the media people from getting too close to him to ask him a lot of questions. So what is happening is that we have now court TV. How many of you in this class have seen court TV? Have you seen court TV? Yes. I would submit that everybody. Oh, one has not seen court TV. Oh, you could. Did you not know that you could see court TV by going on the internet now? You can actually Google it and be able to see court TV. Now, you don't even have to have True TV, which is the network that uses the term court TV. But now court TV has a whole different meaning now because of the fact that the media has gone to court and has, through the Freedom of Information Act, utilized the ability to be able to put information out there. The media outlets have gone and been allowed to broadcast the cases as they take place. But remember again, I repeat to you, the key is that what you might see, you know, on TV. Yep, there's a court TV app. Yeah, that's true. That is absolutely true. And that's my whole point in a nutshell, is that you can see this information readily available to you. And usually saw cases like Casey Anthony, the Casey Anthony case. Anybody see any parts of the Casey Anthony case? And I'm not talking about those of you who are in Florida. Any of you outside of Florida saw any of the Casey Anthony case other than on the news? Did you? Any of you? Yeah, it was on. It was on. It was on Court TV, and it was on other outlets as well. I think CNN or one of those major CNBC, one of those major networks had access, and they showed it on TV. So there were many, many things. So here's what I'm saying to you is that those individuals who were the jurors, you got to remember, the judges are very, very, very protective of the trier of fact in those cases. Now, think about this. In bench trials, who protects the judge from receiving information that the judge should not receive? Who does? I don't see anybody say anything. Me neither. That's the answer to the question. Nobody. Nobody. The judge himself or herself has to um, be neutral, but it most of these cases are not tried through bench trials. If you notice, most of these sensational cases are tried through juries. When I tried my major cases and some of my minor cases, I loved juries because I wanted everyday people to listen to the evidence as presented. So it says the media has influenced what we read and has helped to solve crimes. Both of those are true. Uh, and so it has a good side and a bad side. Though it says here that it has a positive influence on crime in America, and so does the positive influence of social media outweigh the negative influence of social media. I, for example, am a fan of Facebook, but it's like any other tool. It depends on how you use it. You know, people put stuff out there that's bad. And I'm not talking about the criminal things. I'm talking about private events and so forth and so on. You know, I'm not one who, for example, when I was in the hospital, nobody knew I was in the hospital except my family and the people I let know. But I didn't post it on social media, and I have a very public page. But I don't believe in that. But there are people that you see all the time. People, you know, they're laying up in the hospital or something happened, and they're showing them in the hospital beds and those kinds of things. So anyway, so social media plays a large part in our society, and so there's going to be continued challenges as they become more sophisticated. And so I encourage you to read this article, Barner, Trials and Other Entertainment, in the St. Louis University Law Journal. And it's not a real long piece, but you can learn some things. And then check out the link, Trials and Other Entertainment. So what are we going to do in the future? We just have to recognize that this is the time, and this is the way that we're living. So I want to conclude by talking about this last paragraph, and I taught this course before, and I read this one, and then I talked about it. The relationship between the media and criminal justice policies. Many individuals are captivated by crime in our criminal justice system. I had a young man that I knew who was a law student, and he became a lawyer, and he studied mob gangs, mob organizations, and he was intrigued by them. He did research. He wrote papers in school about them, and so the criminal justice system is something that really interests a lot of the people, not just people who want to know what's going on in the community. It's just something that, and the media knows it, because if you know that when the media, you turn on and watch the news consists of sports, weather, and probably the rest of it is crime, some form or another, some issue involving crime. You have politics, but politics becomes really, really big, like now when there's a political big election coming up. But in the normal course, crime is what starts off the news media programs. So it says most of the public's knowledge is a result of the media issues and concerns with crime trends and offenses within a certain jurisdictions are directly related to the police that serve and protect that jurisdiction. Remember what I just said about now the role of the PIO that's involved should be there to regulate the information so that you don't jeopardize investigations that are taking place. And so the relationship found between media's portrayal of the police, of how they are perceived in the public eyes, differ. Some media portray police in a negative way and some in a positive way. That doesn't just go to police, that goes to any areas. But especially in our criminal justice cases. And so you got a lot of fiction and television. You know, like for example, how many of you watch CSI? Any of you all watch CSI? Yep, yep, yep. Okay. Okay, here's 1 out of 3. Most of my students watch CSI. And then they will decide they want to do something like that. And I warn them and caution them. That is not what happens in the real world. And you've got to remember this. If you're looking at these TV shows that involve investigative situations like the one I was talking about last night that was on TV, where Law and Order. Yeah, that's I don't like a lot of those so-called court TV shows. There's a new one coming on that ABC has where a person who was wrongfully convicted, but it's based on a real life story of a person who was wrongfully convicted and became a lawyer. I think it started yesterday or it starts today. I think it starts tonight. I've forgotten the name of the show, but it's on ABC. But shows like those are a little different. But when I was coming up, there were shows like Perry Mason. You had Barnaby, Barney Miller. I mean, that was comedic. But you had many detective shows. Dragnet. Any of y'all ever heard of Dragnet? Probably never heard of Dragnet. Oh, you have? Okay. Yeah, but Sergeant, yep, most of you haven't. The reason why some of you have heard about Dragnet is because there was a movie done in the 90s with Tom Hanks. But most of the people don't know the TV series unless you go back and see some of those old TV programs that are on that you get a chance to see with Sergeant Joe Friday. And when I was teaching this class on police interrogation and questioning, I used to refer to Joe Friday as the typical way that you should question people. But anyway, the point of the matter is that the media, some of these shows have given people the idea that things work like that. Very few people should think that a court case starts today and ends in an hour later. No, because they do things to sensationalize the show, and then there are things that take place that we lawyers know that it doesn't operate like that. So anyway, so some shows perceive police as heroes, and others perceive police as negative and corrupt. I don't know too many shows that portray police officers as negative and corrupt. I don't know TV shows that do that. I can't think of any. All Rise is pretty good. Life is not easy in the courtroom. I haven't seen that, but I've heard people who talk about that. Yeah, I like I said again. The fact of the matter is that you're getting some ideas. But if you ever work in it, and many of you will, and if you decide to take me up, and I already said that if you need help going to learning about becoming a lawyer, I will be happy to help you. I've got a few students during my career at Rasmussen since 2011 that are on their way or very close to becoming lawyers, and one is actually getting ready to sit for the bar. So, so anyway, the point of the matter is that it's a lot of work, but it's not like what you might see. Um, it says, however, the police and the media do have a good relationship with each other in most instances. Again, since you know about the PIO and you know how that works, and you know how the news media, and then with your questions that you were given, and those that you came up with. And by the way, most of you came up with some very good questions. I reminded several of you that you don't use closed-ended questions. A closed-ended question is like this. Professor Wright, did you like practicing law? Yes, I did. Professor Wright, tell me how you enjoyed practicing law. Then that opens up not, well, yes, I enjoyed practicing. No, what it's going to do is give me an ability to answer and elaborate. That's the key. When we were, as a lawyer, there's what we call cross-examination in the courtroom. And the other side can ask direct questions or lead the witness. My key that I often did, and I was very good at it, was asking a series of questions that required yes or no answers. And the reason why I did that is because I didn't want you to elaborate. On the other hand, when I was doing direct examination, I wanted you to elaborate, but I also wanted you to stay with the question and not be voluntary in terms of providing other information. So anyway, the point of the matter is that you control the information that comes from the stand. We used to meet with our clients before case and talk to them not about what to say, but how to say it and how not to say it. And don't volunteer information that's not asked. The police are dependent on the media to get valuable information out to the public. That's where the PIO comes in. And also when there are issues where police and the media must work together, law enforcement, such as dealing with child abduction, such as dealing with serial killers or a pattern of crime in an area, those kinds of things. So the media is dependent on the police to provide them with up-to-date information on an active crime or event. And for the final time, you know who does that and who's supposed to. The PIO. By the way, anybody remember what PIO stands for? See how you all type PIO. See if you remember what it is. What is a PIO? Yes, okay. And the name is self-explanatory. So I guess as I conclude this course, it's a very interesting course. I learned a lot from my career of being around reporters. Like there's a guy by the name of Bill Curtis that I got to know pretty well. He is also a lawyer, but he was a journalist. And if you do some Googling on him, by the way, it's Curtis with a K, not with a C. And people like him, I've talked to other investigative reporters that are on here in Chicago. I've been fortunate because my adopted mother was in media at WGN, and I got to know many of the reporters from WGN who went to other stations. And then I had a brother-in-law who was at an ABC affiliate, and then I have really good friends who are at NBC and CBS as well. And so I learned something even while I was practicing law. And what I learned is this, guys, and it hasn't changed because of social media. The integrity of the reporters themselves is the key. And At the school that I graduated from, Northwest University School of Law, they have a school that's known internationally as the Medill School of Journalism. And and I encourage my granddaughter who wanted to be a journalist, um, that it is where you learn ethics in terms of reporting and what we call not political, rather, but media responsibility in terms of reporting. Because you got to remember, it's just like any other tool. If you use it responsibly, it's going to benefit society. If you use it negatively, it's not. And, that's one of the reasons why a gentleman who graduated from Northwestern University School of Law um, was was asked to be a news reporter on NBC in Chicago, and a very well-known journalist, Carol Marine, she resigned from the station because she didn't want this person because of what he did with he wouldn't be considered and taken seriously. Does anybody know who I'm talking about? The person that caused Carol Marine to not stay at the station because she thought that the individual was not a good journalist. Anybody know who that person was? Okay, you don't know that was the reason why, but you know who he is. His name is Jerry Springer. You ever heard of Jerry Springer? Yeah, Jerry Springer. Did you know he was a lawyer? Yes. Yeah. Yes. He graduated from the same law school I did. Jerry came a little after I did. And Jerry, his first job was mayor of Cincinnati. And then he got into the media frenzy and made a whole lot of money and used people's business and became known as the proponent of trash TV, and was one of the original ones. But he's made a whole lot of money. So do you all know he has another TV show on now? Does anybody know the name of his other TV show? And a lot of people don't take him seriously. You don't know about his other TV show? It's called Judge Jerry. Have anybody heard of that? Yeah, Judge Jerry. Check it out. Judge Jerry. Jerry. And if you were to, and I'm going to adjourn here, I'm going to tell you, you can Google it, and you will see Judge. Type in the word Judge, and then Jerry. Or it says a reality show. And if you were to look at it, you would see that it says Judge Jerry Springer. And he's like one of those TV judges. Yes. And a lot of people uh, are not taking him seriously because of that. Well, all those TV shows, all those court TV shows, those are either retired judges or either their attorneys. Those cases they give you the sensationalized aspect of it, and so I don't even watch them. I don't watch them. I don't watch them. That's not how court operates uh, for real, and you can't. Some of the things that happen. Yeah, it's a stage, but so is almost all of these other shows that you would see on TV. So I don't even watch them. My wife, she likes to watch them because I get frustrated. And I says, you can't do that. But anyway, the point of the matter is both. Here's what you should know: both parties are paid to be on these shows, and so I'm talking about people like Jerry Springer's and putting their business out there, and then you deal with these court cases, People's Court, and all of these different shows. You have divorce court, but the cases that are accurate are those like Court TV and things of that nature, not some of those investigative shows that are put on. And like we talked about Nancy Grace already last week, and you know those kind of shows. So anyway, well, people, it's time for me to go. I got to do some grading tonight. It's been a pleasure. I have enjoyed teaching this class with you guys. I hope that I'll see you in some other classes. I do teach other classes in the bachelor program. For example, I've taught constitutional law. I've taught evidence and some other classes as well. Though most of the time, my schedule is so busy with the individuals who are dealing with the associates program that I don't see a lot of you in the bachelor completer program. But I do wish you the best. Continue to do what I said. If I can help any of you in the future, feel free, yes, to reach out to me, and I do the same. I wish everybody well, good health as we go through this season of dealing with this I call it catastrophic of this epidemic of the flu, because it is an epidemic. And so you guys take care of yourselves. And so I got to tell you before I let you go one last thing, and that is this: the key phrase that I want you to give me in order to get your points, and it is very, very simply media coverage. No, I would not use Jerry Springer. No, media coverage, and because that's what you've learned in this course. Again, I hope you won't forget what you learned in your research in preparing these final papers. Again, feel free to reach out to me for anything that you need, because pretty much, like I said again, week 5 is where you do really most of your work. Again, the assignment that you have here about justice, it kind of just ties things together in a neat little package when you complete those papers. Any questions? Okay. Well, I'm going to say good night to you guys, and like I said, get those assignments in. I will be, your final grades for this class will be due, I think it is, let me look at something here. Let me go back. I got to go back to, it'll tell me in a second. I think it's, okay, here we go. Tells me about entering final grades. Okay, I'm just going to put this up here. You can see it's not a, let's see, here we go. I think the final grade, let's see, for this class, as soon as it pops up, you'll see it. It is, let me enable editing. Okay, so for the 6-week class, 11:59 p.m. on Tuesday, following the final day of class. So that means by Tuesday of next Tuesday, yeah, because your classes end Sunday, so I'll have to have all your grades in by Tuesday night. So really by Wednesday morning. And that's how that's something else there. Okay. For those of you who are in 5.5 courses, some of you might still be. Then term 2 courses starting tomorrow. And then term 1 courses, I have final grading for those classes that I've been teaching now that I do by Saturday. So I'll be getting those in. So anyway, that's it. So I'm going to say good night to you guys.